I didn't write the Ten Commandments, God did.
Really, is that the case? God wrote this, so it comes directly from the Bible, word for word, bar for bar.
I didn't write the Ten Commandments, God did.
Well, if that's true, allow me to ask the question that's been plaguing me since I started looking into this. Why are there 11 commandments in your 10 Commandments bill?
I didn't write the Ten Commandments, God did.
Don't believe me? I don't blame you. I don't really believe it myself. It's still really hard for me to grasp. But Louisiana Republicans, specifically Representative Dodie Horton, have on the brink of passage a bill that would require all classrooms in the state to display 11 commandments on their walls. I'm currently showing on screen the bill, with the commandments counted off, all 11, so you can see exactly how many amendments they have in their bill. I have a good guess as to how this insanity happened, but you're going to have to follow me on a bit of a journey to get there. Because whatever Representative Horton says, she wrote this version of the Ten Commandments.
I didn't write the Ten Commandments, God did.
And it has a lot of interesting choices. Also, this is a bit of a rush job, so if the audio or video is off, that's the reason. Conservatives have an obsession with making all public schools religious. That's what charter schools are about, that's why Under God is in the Pledge of Allegiance, and that's why they seem to be obsessed with putting the Ten Commandments everywhere. That's why we are here today. There was a Supreme Court ruling, because there is always a Supreme Court ruling, particularly with this Supreme Court. Now, Republicans think that they can stuff the Ten Commandments everywhere and anywhere, particularly classrooms, and that's where we are at now. The fig leaf that is being used to justify this is that the Ten Commandments are the basis for historical U.S. law.
Let me just start out saying that the Ten Commandments is the plumb line on which all laws in our country are founded.
Sure it is. This is dumb nonsense and everything, but not why we are here. It's time to answer the question of how Dodie Horton came up with 11 commandments. Well, she has the exact wording in the law, so I can actually look at what Bible version she used for her 10 commandments. It's the Webster Bible, and yes, it's by the same guy who did the dictionary. Anyway, when we scroll to the bottom, it's clear what happened. Horton split the last commandment in half, which changes, "Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his asson, nor anything that is thy neighbor's," by inserting a period where the first comma is. You can compare the two versions, they're on screen now. There are some who may say I'm making a mountain out of a molehill by guffawing at this error. I'm just laughing at some insignificant grammar or editing error. But that actually points to a more important issue with the Ten Commandments in Rep. Horton's bill. If you'll look on screen, she didn't just change a punctuation mark or insert an untoward line change. She changed an entire section, and we can all guess why. She didn't want a dirty word being uttered in the classroom. Which is weird, because if she is censoring the Ten Commandments for dirty words, wouldn't you want to get rid of the section on adultery and coveting thy neighbor's wife?
The Ten Commandments are the basis of all laws in Louisiana, and given all the junk our children are exposed to in classrooms today, it's imperative that we put the Ten Commandments back in a prominent position.
I mean, if you're going to have a display in your classroom on lusting and committing adultery, what's the big deal with ass? It's literally about the animal. But that's just a minor change. She made larger changes elsewhere. Changes that rework the context of the Ten Commandments. Let's start with the first commandment, because Rep. Horton censors the hell out of it. From the original Exodus 20, verses 2 and 3, "I am the Lord thy God, who have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me." And Rep. Horton decides to censor the part where God says he brought his people out of slavery. Goodness, I wonder why a Republican cut out language that puts slavery in a bad light. It's such a mystery. Who could possibly crack this conundrum? And for completion's sake, let's just do the rest of the Ten Commandments in order to show how she edited them, to see if there's any kind of agenda on display. Commandment number 2, graven images. She edits it to remove clarifying language from God, which seems like a waste. This is supposed to be a moral code, and just hanging it up without context isn't going to teach anyone anything. How are they going to learn how to be moral people if they don't know God will punish their great-grandchildren for mistakes they made? Commandment number 3, don't take the Lord's name in vain. She edits out language where God promises punishment. This is such a good opportunity for children to be learning. Why is Rep. Horton removing all the language about punishments? Doesn't she want children to know God won't hold them guiltless? Commandment number 4, keep the Sabbath holy, and now I'm offended. As you can see from the language on screen, she cuts out like 90% of the commandment. She legit said, "Oh, there's a commandment that says you shouldn't work on Sundays? Let me cut that." Have I mentioned she's a Republican? Anyway, Commandments 5 through 9 are roughly the same as they are in the Bible, allowing for minor variations on the words thee and thy. Then we loop back around to commandment number 10, where Rep. Horton split it in half and edited out the naughty word for donkeys that so offended her.
I didn't write the 10 Commandments, God did.
Actually, yeah, you did. You edited out anything that went against your political convictions. Horton edited out any mention of slavery because Republicans think slavery was fake news. Horton edited out a literal commandment from God to take a day off because the rich people that run the Republican Party ain't ever given anyone a day off. And Horton literally made the most petty and stupid edit of all time, removing the word ass because children couldn't be exposed to an alternative word to donkey without bursting into giggles.
I didn't write the 10 Commandments, God did.
So to sum up, Republicans are shoving religion into every classroom and have designed a new and exciting Republican-approved 10 Commandments, where slavery is cut out, off days are eliminated, and the worst thing of all, naughty language, is excised. I'd say I'm disappointed, but that would imply my expectations weren't met, and they were definitely met in this situation. I'm History Sock, and I'll see you at the next committee hearing.